Welcome back to Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh. Today, I am so excited to bring you this beautiful chat with me and Sophie, who is a very delicious sister that my heart resonates with so much. We are going to get raw and real on the Order of the Blue Rose, the beautiful Magdalene path and lineage, and also the deep sacred feminine path. So it's going to be a little bit messy. It's going to be a little bit more chaotic than normal because we are in eclipse season and we're feeling the full effects of that. And so we're just bringing it. We're showing up anyway. We're bringing it. And I feel like this is a real honoring to like our paths and our calling. And I just wanted to introduce you to Sophie because me and Sophie didn't meet that long ago. We met on social media, on Instagram, and we just really connected and vibed with each other's shares, like so deeply on a cellular level. We were like, something in us is super attracted to each other. And of course, we did a collab last year, MM22, and it was beautiful. It was a deep dive workshop all around Mary Magdalene, and it was so yummy. And Sophie is birthing her beautiful calling and work by herself at the moment, which is the many faces of Mary Magdalene, which we will go deep into today. But before we do that, I would love to introduce you to Sophie with her little spiel of her calling, who she is, what she represents, all of that goodness. Sophie, take it away.
Oh, hi, honey. So good to
Hi.
be here with you. And yeah, wow, what a journey it's been just to get here on this call.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm definitely arriving with the eclipses tomorrow and the full lunar eclipse, and I'm definitely arriving with a little bit of that energy, as you said, and I'll just share because it's there for me in the field. So it's in the field, vocally. I literally was just having a salt bath. So it's like 8 a.m. for me. I was up at 6 a.m. We were meeting really early this morning, and I decided to have a salt bath and just really nourish myself before jumping on this call with you and receive a meditation. And then which I do, I've done, I have my laptop in the bath all the time because I love to just be, in the water while I receive. So nothing different there. And then as I was getting out the bath, I went to grab my laptop and dropped my Apple Mac in the bath. So I'm now on my phone, and we're hoping that's going to work okay. And yeah, I am arriving here today feeling a little like, oh, there's some real tenderness there, and knowing that I've got all of that mess to sort out after I get off this. So that's all in the space with me. So I'm naming that.
Welcome. I wanted to share on, like, we have actually gone to war to bring this. Like we've just been saying, like, we have gone to battle to try and get this conversation together for the last few weeks. So this is like the tip of the iceberg of like, okay, there's been hand cuts and injuries and all sorts of things, Sophie. So thank you, like, from the depth of my heart that you've shown up in this space, even through the chaos and the mess and through a big launch. It's a big, big mission. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, honey. By the way, you must tell me if I get chocolate on my top lip.
No, I'm just going to leave it there because I think it'll be a great addition to this podcast, of course. I'll be like, who's that funny chocolate lipped woman?
Oh, gosh. All right, let me try and drop in with something. What is my calling? So I don't have like a typical elevator pitch, but I am 100% here to be I do describe myself as a conduit for the sacred feminine. And like many of us that woke up through contrast a lot of the time, like my soul really chose to learn through contrast. So through trauma, sexual trauma, losing my menstrual cycle for 6 years, all the things that really showed me what the other side of the coin was, that then led me onto the path of like, what should this be in its healthiest, most beautiful expression. So I've been on a long journey of about 13 years now of working deeply with the sacred feminine mysteries, with, somatic work, with my womb, my menstrual cycle, and all of those things. And more and more and more, I've always known that my soul is here to be of service to the rose lineage and to anchoring those teachings and that wisdom back into the planet, into the collective. But more and more and more in the last year, this Magdalene work has been coming through. And, of course, we did this beautiful workshop just the day I got back from Calabria, so southern Italy, where the Black Madonna energy is so, so strong and fertile, but also quite repressed. So I remember that, that workshop was so potent. And we did that together, which was such a gorgeous honor. And then this much bigger body of work has been coming through me for a long time, but I feel like I actually feel like I was resisting birthing it because it's pretty big. And as you've just spoken to, there's a lot of forces out there as well that really don't want this work to be re-anchored on the planet. So I do feel that there is I feel that we really have to be willing to step into the fire when we're offering something of this nature. So yeah, ultimately where I am right now and what I'm always here and what I'm always about is a conduit for the sacred feminine, but right now with a particular focus on, the Order of the Blue Rose and the Magdalene lineage and mysteries and archetypal energy.
Yum, 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 yum. These are all things that really like pulse through my blood, and I can feel the pull of it, right? Like it is quite large. And I love that you said like step in the fire of what we bring forth, because it is so true. We go through those initiations again and again before we bring things out. And I feel like this in particular is so big because it's been so repressed, right? Like it's such a repressed pain point and such a shadowy area and realm because it's largely misunderstood and everything's been kept hidden. So
Yeah.
I would love to talk about this. And like what is it? Like what if people, if they're listening to me and us right now and they're like, this sounds delicious, this sounds yummy, but what is the Order of the Blue Rose? What is, that delicious sacred feminine, and what does that path look like? Like especially when walking the true path of Mary Magdalene, and because obviously it's been twisted and turned so much. So you are so profound in your knowledge in this sort of area, so I'd love for you to share, like, what is it? What does that even mean? What does that look like, babes?
Well, I feel like there was two separate questions in there. One was sort of like, what's the path of the sacred feminine? And then, what is the Order of the Blue Rose? And I feel like they're two different, I can answer both of those differently. So maybe I'll start with the sacred feminine because that feels more foundational. And
Yes.
I know that both yours and I don't know how you say that. Both of our audiences will already probably likely have a connection to that. So,
Yeah.
the path of the sacred feminine is, beautifully awakening again on the planet, as we've seen in the last sort of 10 years, maybe, this real resurgence of women working, maybe coming off the pill, getting reacquainted with their natural menstrual cycle, with their circular rhythm, with the womb mysteries, really working with blood, sex, death as well, really seeing a resurgence of, I knew you were going to be like that. Really
Yeah.
working with those original feminine and priestess arts, but the feminine realms of blood, sex, and death. We've seen such a resurgence as well of doulas and natural birth being celebrated and all of these things, right? So I would say the realms of the body, the realms of the realms of the body and all those things that have been so suppressed for however many thousands of years are really being reclaimed and re-remembered by the women, and now also the men, which is so beautiful to see and so needed. So yeah, I feel like that maybe answers the first piece about the sacred feminine. Do you have anything else to offer on that? Because this is so your
I
area
think
of
I
expertise.
think you've just named it so beautifully. I believe it's like a return to the primordial and the organic, right? So,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
to us that is, it's not yeah, it is the organic essence which is included in birth, sex, blood, like this powerful rite of passage. And yeah, I just feel like it's just woven into the fabric as us as women, and it's just been like forgotten because of the
mm-hmm.
society that we live in. So I actually feel like it's innate to our nature, like it
Yeah.
is very woven within us. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, especially as we've seen the rise of spiritualism, can
Mm-hmm,
kind of feel like it's something out there or something
mm-hmm,
cosmically they can't touch, but it's so
mm-hmm,
primal and so
mm-hmm,
ancient that
mm-hmm.
it's in our bones, and it's
Yes.
like so human. That's what I really wanted to like
Yes.
input there. Like it's so it's so
This is
human.
it. We just like when we first connected, it was like, oh my God, I see you over there rolling around in the mud, being all like earthy and primal and in your body and sensual. I'm like, this is my kind of woman. This is my kind of spirituality.
Yes, because I feel like there has been such a it's put it on a like an egotistic sort of pedestalization of something other than what is in ourselves, or
Yeah.
something other than, enlightenment, going into higher dimensions, like all of these things. But it's actually like coming down into like the deep parts of the marrow, right? Like
Mm-hmm,
these,
mm-hmm.
squatting on the earth, like, being feral, being primal, like that's just as sacred as,
Grief.
yeah, what were you going to say?
Grief is a part of this as well, isn't it? We
Oh,
talk about this as
yes.
well a lot. There's a real like
Yeah.
grief is such a part of this same, the primal embodied human experience that is super spiritual, that is also part of the Magdalene wisdom as well. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in
Yeah.
there. It's like all
I
those
love that
things.
because
Yeah.
it's such a huge layer of our work, right? Is like that grief, like holding sensational grief, and that like crack you open grief. Like that's a part of the work because yeah, so I just really wanted to like claim that of like sacred is not this like holy untouchable thing that's outside of us. It's actually very primal in our bones as humans. Hell
Yes.
yeah. But
Yes.
yeah, I think you touched it so beautifully. I love that so much. And yeah, on to the next question about yeah, the order of the blue rose, the path, the Venus path, the like
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure so many women have heard these things and they're like, what even is that? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay, so actually, what we were just speaking about, there was a thread that I wanted to weave back in. So,
Of course.
of course, like as you just said, the rejection of the primal and all of that, right? It's not only religion that is to blame for that, let's say, but dogmatic religion has played a huge part, as well as the medical system, but has played a huge part in, severing us from, as an example, birth, the way that birth has been, taken out of the natural and very primal and very feminine and very intuitive realms and kind of medicalized and hospitalized and whitewashed in a way. It to me, it mirrors the same thing as what happened to Yeshua, right? It was like very whitewashed and very taken out of his true earthy primal, as connected to the sort of Celtic pagan side of things, he very much has a green man, Dionysus kind of earthy, raw, primal energy as a very light, beautiful, like solar logos. Like there is an element of that purity and that divinity that is part of this lineage and is not to be rejected either. We do need both, it's not only about the earth and the grief and the primal and the feral and all of that. We actually, of course, I know this, this is part of our work, but like it's having both, right? It's being whole and knowing that our divinity is as much there, but of course we can also really be in those beautiful light realms as well, which Yeshua really holds. So just to tie up what I'm saying, the Orthodox Church, or just religious dogmatic conditioning has sort of whitewashed the true teachings of Yeshua. And that's where I feel that Magdalene really plays a role in those who are willing to, remember and re-embrace the truth of the wholeness of this lineage and of these teachings, which is, that these primal and feminine and earthly flavors are as much included in the light and in the love. So that was that final little piece there. And then I will
I'm
go into
so
the order of
glad
the
you
blue.
brought that. That was so delicious to hear. And oh, yeah, I love that. Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, so let me go into the order of the blue rose. So I feel like it is actually, it's interesting because you said something at the beginning of this call, which was like, about how these teachings have been so hidden and so suppressed, Magdalene, the Magdalene work is for sure having a revival, let's say. And I sense that a lot of what's out there is a little still only in the love and light realms. I actually feel that the order of the blue rose teachings aren't super revived yet. There is actually a bigger resurgence that's wanting to come through. And even that term, I've had lovely messages from people saying sort of like, oh, I've heard about, I know Magdalene is connected to the red rose, which she is, which is a representation of of the sensual, of sensuality and of blood and of those mysteries, but I've never heard of the blue rose. So I feel like there is still more to come through. And that's why I wanted to tie this in, because the blue rose frequency actually does speak to that more kind of divine, the more sort of cosmic, higher realms. So there is a real like merging of both. The blue rose it really does represent actually the frequency of God, because a blue rose is supernatural. It doesn't actually exist in real life. So the symbol of the blue rose is it represents the purity and divinity, and there's a word I'm looking for, like the miraculous nature of God. And it's also the color of faith and devotion. It also represents, royal blue is a very queenly color. So I think it also represents the truth that Magdalene was a queen of the Benjamin bloodline. So she, it was prophesized that her and Yeshua would come together in sacred union to birth the Holy Family, to birth, Saratama, potentially some other children as well, to carry forth the Holy Grail, the truth of the Holy Grail. So that royal blue really speaks to her queenship. And let me drop in if there's anything else with the blue rose that wants to come through before I lovingly pass the ball back to you. There is one final important teaching. It speaks to the blue ray, which was from Genesis. So that very original emanation of God, basically. So the women who carry this medicine, their souls are really, really ancient, and they are tapped into primordial magic. So when you were saying, it's in our bones, it's in our blood, all of that is very true. And it is, it's a frequency that has been there since the beginning of time, which includes Magdalene. It's held by more than just Magdalene. It's held by Yeshua, Magdalene, and then everyone in that lineage. So it's like it's a much bigger frequency than what the church will have you believe, which is like it's only about Jesus. It's not. It's a whole family that includes both the masculine and the feminine in harmony and union.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much because it is like when I tap into it, like I'm a very visual person. When
Mm.
I tap into it, I see it is like a Blu-ray color. It is like a
Mm.
cosmic web, right?
Mm.
And I see it as
Mm-hmm.
kind of like DNA strands sprawled across the whole
Mm.
earth. It's really interesting
Oh, I just got
because
chills. See, that's so funny because I'm not visual at all. I'm like really kinesthetic, and I just got full body chills when you gave me that beautiful visual.
that's so yummy. When I oh, I love that so much. Yeah, I am very visual. I see things a lot, and that is like the visual I get. It does kind of look
Mm.
like DNA strands, but it looks like a cosmic web, and it is
Mhm.
interconnected through people, and it's like you you feel it. It is
Mhm.
like you said, when you just feel it, like you feel it and you know if you're part of this lineage, if you feel it in, and it's something that can be, is not quite tangible, which is so hard sometimes to try and relay the message. It's a felt sense, it's an energetic like
Yes.
reverberation. It's
Yes.
almost like your womb and your blood is speaking to my womb and my blood across the
Mhm.
ocean seas,
Mhm.
right? Like
Mhm.
as soon as I was connected to you, I felt it. I was like, I don't know what it is. And then it's so funny because upon reflection of our path, the times that we have tapped in together, we have had such like parallel synchronistic like timelines in this
Yes.
life, like with a lot of initiations around sexual trauma, sexual healing, like these feminine mysteries, this like just it's just so insane. And then you
Mm.
really start to sink in of like, oh well, it's not just me. There is a whole sea and ocean of women that are
Mhm.
waking up and remembering that this is our birthright. It's in our body, like it's in the temple is within truly.
Mm.
And
Yes.
bringing that forth has been such an ancient mission spanning over lifetimes. Like, like
One
you
that
know,
includes dropping your laptop in the bath right before a juicy podcast.
right? And if you're tapped into your oracular nature as a woman, as like this ancient feminine, right? Like you will be able to see with eyes, you know, without your actual physical eyes and go, oh, like, yes, this is like this journey, even for me and you to sit here and to talk about this has been quite brutal. We've had hindrances after, because it doesn't, there's so many forces and energetic things at play that like that it is kept in the shadows and hidden and suppressed, because I truly believe that like when you really understand like your like anointed essence and bring forth from that space, like it's such a powerful place, but it's also like a magnet for lots of things, right, to come in your way and kind of hinder that, right? It's kind of like a catch 22, which is so
We
funny.
also shared the whole shadow banning journey.
Oh yeah, shadow ban all the time. Like me and you are so PG. I cannot believe how PG we are. We code stuff. Like we can't even show a tiny slither of skin up in this space because it's true. Like, and then you see other people out there who probably share the same similar stuff to us and a similar message, but it's a resonance. It is a resonance that even technology can pick up. Like I want to really, especially as we're moving into this space of AI, artificial intelligence, all of these things, I want you all to know that it is a frequency and energy that they pick up. They know
Mhm.
they can, and there are forces at play that try and like hinder it and block it and censor it and squash it down. Like it's not just, oh, it's part of the algorithm. Like it's true. Like this is why like even people who had DNA testing, you know, the ancestry lineage testing. Oh my God, I'm going to get into a bit of conspiracy here. Hold on to your knickers, everybody. It's the eclipse energy coming out. Don't even get me started on
Give
the
it to
moon.
me.
Don't even get me started on the moon energy. Anyway, don't, the dark side
I
of the
wore
moon,
my
let's
moon
not go
earrings
there tonight.
intentionally.
Hey?
I wore my moon earrings intentionally.
I'm wearing sun earrings. Stop it. That is ridiculous.
That's literally us all over. Because we're also always holding the two poles. We worked this out with MM22 because of course you're on
Yes.
the very opposite side of the planet to me. That's
Yes, we
hilarious.
are. And like I find it funny that like when you are anchoring something, I tend to feel like I'm anchoring something completely different. It's really interesting. But it's necessary.
Wait,
Like
go
all
on, tell me. You were just about to give me a very juicy conspiracy
Oh,
theory.
okay. The conspiracy theory about DNA testing and how because the DNA that has been passed through, like these ancient bloodlines have been hunted, and you know that is very real. They have been hunted and killed and
Persecuted.
stopped, and basically, the ancestry DNA was like a way for them to understand like where the bloodlines and find out where they are. It wasn't even about getting you in touch with your ancestors. Like it was actually about like reading your DNA and seeing if you had this ancient DNA to like, oh God, don't even get me started. We're conspiracy theorying out tonight. It's great. But it's
Wow. Wow. Okay,
that
yeah,
was like
let's not
a
go
whole
down that rabbit hole right
no,
now.
we
But yeah,
won't. But I'm going to
that's,
say, like, it's
I
in the
believe
blood.
you.
It's a
Yeah.
frequency. It's an energy, and it is a felt sensation.
100%. And I wanted to actually touch on that, and you just totally did it for me. But I do want to circle back to that because I wanted to preface before I went into the Order of the Blue Rose kind of frequency that this doesn't need to make sense to your mind. Like it's not, it is, you just said it so beautifully. It's a felt sense, it's a frequency. And I've had someone look at my sales page and be like, yeah, you need to make people be able to understand it. I'm like, no, actually I don't, because it's not, we don't need to understand this with our rational brain. It's all there. And really that's why, this journey, like walking the Magdalene path, but in a very embodied and ritualistic way, like we're doing bi-weekly 3-hour embodied rituals and ceremonies, is the best way to wake up to her medicine, because it's not a rational linear thing. It's an embodied ancient knowing that emerges from within. Yeah.
Emerges from within. Oh, I love that. That was really sexy. It's true. It's true though. Like so many people don't get it because they're not the people that feel it. Like I read your page and like I feel it. It actually activates like this deep hum and symphony within my body that I can't really explain, right? And all of these words is just noise sometimes. You know, I'm sure people will be getting on this podcast. It'll be like, it's so different to all my other podcasts. Yeah, because me and you are just silly together. I love it.
I think we've actually been quite restrained today.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm impressed through this energy. I'm actually so impressed. But we are getting into like deep spiritual gnosis type stuff. And obviously, you know, it's not going to make cognitive sense. Like you said, they're not going to understand it mentally. They're just going to feel it in their bodies, in their hearts, in their womb, like whatever that brings forth for them. And it'll be like this great activation from within of like, oh yes, like I just know, like I feel that pulse in my womb. I feel that awakening something ancient within me. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? This is one of the maybe trickier things to kind of selling in today's, world, where there's so much information and so much noise, and we have been trained, through schooling systems and whatever, to be more in a sort of masculine, let me make decisions from my mind, right? And actually part of walking this path is like reading something like this, feeling it, if you are one of these souls that is, you know, absolutely destined to reclaim this way and reclaim this gnosis and reclaim these teachings. It's actually being able to see something like this, feel it, and trust that, and not make a rational decision. You know, it's not about the rational. It's really not. Like even things with the, you know, timing or the financial stuff like that, that more rational, logical realm, like all of those pieces fall into place because this is like soul dharma for those of us who are meant to be walking this path. It is destined, anointed. And I loved the way you described it, like a DNA cosmic web, like a blue DNA strands that's like a web. Oh my God, what a gorgeous visual. That is like so it. That is so it. And you know what? It's exactly designed like that, it was exactly designed that we have all been spread out across the globe. You know, it's not, it's designed that way on purpose. I'm in the UK, you're in Australia. You know, what I love about the many faces of Mary Magdalene so far, and it being an online journey, is that we have people from the UK, from America, from Lebanon, from Europe. And so that's exactly the point. You know, it is this cosmic web, just like you described it, coming back together again to actually hold and anchor this frequency across the globe. So there's, you know, this is actually one of the reasons I would love to be able to do more in-person work, but actually this is what we also have to trust, that this whole moving into the age of Aquarius and that this whole moving towards being online is also part of God's greater plan in some way, you know?
Yes.
Mm.
Absolutely. I have to totally agree with you. Like, you know, a few years ago when everything was going so crazy in the world and we were all like holding on to the goddamn soil like for some stability, like that is, you know, and every one of us was feeling extremely lonely. Like we were feeling,
Mm-hmm.
remember there was like this ancient calling of like finding my community, finding my tribe, being closer to my people. And I got the message so clearly that it's like you're actually here anchoring this in, like it's all it's totally divine. Like you are all in your anchor points, your energetic anchor points, and like you need to be, because the
Mm-hmm.
transference of your energy or our energy is actually so much larger than we give it credit. Like we just think we have this little tiny aura bubble that just like surfaces around our body, and it's actually such a lie. And even like our systems go up higher, way higher than just our crown, and way lower than just our feet, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this huge anchoring point, and it actually is able to hold that frequency across, like as truly anchors. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's needed, not just for us, but for the earth. Like that was the hugest thing I really understood, is like the land needs us in those places
Yeah.
too. And it's all supposed to be this way. And the
Yes.
internet is fabulous because we can connect like this across the globe with our people and not feel like we're doing it alone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. And you know what? Something you just said there made me think of something, because we've had this conversation as well about working with the land, you know, and coming back into that, which is a beautiful, certainly unfolding chapter for both of us. But yeah, like you know, there is so much about the land itself carrying trauma. And I had this experience in Italy. Maybe I'll just briefly say, when I was in Italy, which is, you know, as I say, Calabria, the land of the Black Madonna, but has been very heavily mafia run, and is very, all of the codes are so there thriving in the land, but there's also like the fecundity has been somewhat diminished or suppressed just by the way, you know, the distortions overlaid, right? So when I was there, I actually I took a micro over dinner, and as I was going to bed, the windows of where I was staying in this kind of very old Calabrian like village house flew open, and I heard, it was crazy. I was like, it was wild. I was just dropping into sleep. So I was in that liminal space, and the land, like I felt it and saw her and like heard her. It was wild, like screaming at me, bring the erotic feminine back, bring the erotic feminine back. And it was like, oh, I've got chills. So, and this also makes me think of the Holy Lands right now, you know, all the war and devastation that we're seeing there, and conflict and, you know, trauma and chaos, and pain. I truly believe that that original wounding of the crucifixion is the land is still holding trauma. And, you know, whilst would be hard to do any direct work on the land there now, but like it is, as we were saying, like part of the reason why we're all spread out and doing that, being called to this work, but in such different locations, but then connecting in this kind of cosmic web, is because the land itself in many places actually also needs healing. It needs our tending to our own bodies and our own remembrance and our own lineages as well. As a spiritual community, we're often people are so like severed from their own tap root of their own lineages, their DNA and soul lineages. It's like, oh, I'll just borrow from the Indian teachings, or I'll just be a bit, you know, like sometimes people have borrowed an entirely native spiritual tradition that's not
Yes.
even theirs, right? And it's like, can we all come back to like the truth of our soul and our own actual, you know, I'm Jewish, so this is actually in my heritage, but like, yeah, our true soul taproot lineages and working with the land and all these things really connect us, I think, into the healing that we're doing for ourselves and for the collective.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that you brought that here because oh, fuck, I love you. It's so true though, because it's like, it's oh my God. I just want to reflect. If you're listening to this, just take that in for a moment, like reclaiming your own lineage, right? Because a lot of what we have been sold is repackaged, resold back to us. Like this is the path and this is the right way, whether it is Hinduism, you know, Tantra, like Buddhism, like Christianity. Like we have been sold this great big package of this is it, and it completely does sever us to the roots of our own being. Like what is true? Like did you come from Druid, like ancient timelines? Are you Viking? Like are you Scottish? Like what is the truth of that? Because when you start to remember that and then work with your own lineage in such a powerful way, it shifts so much. Like oh God. Oh God.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. And it's potent medicine because it's forgotten,
yeah.
right? We have forgotten, like, even, you know, I love that there's like a bit of a resurgence around like witch reclamation and stuff. But is that in your lineage? Like, is paganism like part of your ancient roots? Like, are you being true to like your deep? Oh, there's a little buggy in here coming to join us. Fabulous. What are you doing, spy? No.
Wait, is your Australian version of a little buggy like?
Oh, it's freaking huge. It's like, yeah, it's like the size, half of the size of my palm. I'm like, please don't fly near
Oh
my
no.
face right now because I'll be like, man. Oh God. It's over there. It's just chilling. But yeah, it is true. And like, I love that you spoke about this on the land too, because the land does hold onto such trauma. And when we sit with land calls to us, I talk about this all the time. Like the land is a consciousness, a living, breathing, like like it's part of us and we are part of it. And like listening to the whispers of the land is so part of the feminine, it's so part of our wombs. And once you start really tapping into it, like land will call you to places to be and do work. And there is like this transference, is that the word I'm using today? Transference, transference,
Transparent. Yeah.
transference, and transference of energy between both you, your womb, your heart, your energy, and the land and the places around. Like so many places are holding massive grief spots, from
Mm-hmm.
like ancient mother trees being ripped out of the earth and like blood being spilled when it shouldn't be. And like when I tap into like the earth's energy and the meridians of the earth too, like she has meridian points. She is like, her veins and her lines are so intricate. She is truly of us. And like the deeper we go into like knowing and remembering like our body and reclamation of us fully, like our fascia, like all parts of us, like on a very primordial level, it's like when then we get into like deeper gnosis of the earth too, and like her intricate parts and her earth, like her veins and her like fascia and meridian and energy points, and it just becomes this like deep pulse and hum between the two that I actually feel is like this thread that is going to catapult us into the true resurgence of this like ancient knowing within us, which is, I believe, truly the path of, everyone we've literally been speaking about tonight.
Yes, yes, yes. Oof, oof. So beautifully said.
Oh, that was good. Where did that come from?
It came from all in here.
Oh, thanks, Buggy. Oh, thanks, Bug, for joining us.
So
Oh,
let me come back on something there, which was
yes, please.
yeah, I feel like that is so important, and the many faces of Mary Magdalene has been coded with, which is really I just like you just said, like I just listened to the whispers of where I was being called, and actually again, like I was saying earlier, like I didn't really, I logically it made no sense for me to go from Italy to where was it? Egypt to Glastonbury to south of France. Logically, financially, all these things. It was like this doesn't really make any sense, and it absolutely has. I just listened to something deeper, which was this knowing that I had to go to these places. And I know it was in order to really bring this offering through. So it was coded in the land, in the eros of the earth, but like held by those places where Magdalene, of course, spent time, and the earth holds her kind of wisdom and helps us remember. So but I also just wanted to come back to, because some people might be like, well, you're not Egyptian, so what we were saying about really tapping into your personal roots, because there's two slight different flavors. Of course there's the actual ancestral, which is so important, but there is also a soul lineage, and we get to work with both. So if someone, let's just say, really their soul has a connection to the Indian, let's just say, lineage, that's totally okay. Like who am I to judge? Because yes, you're right, I'm not Egyptian, and my soul, the rose lineage, my soul absolutely has a connection to that lineage. There's one other point here. So it is really about really sort of doing the work to listen and to discover like what is the truth, because I really honestly believe that the planet would, and the collective would, find an enormous amount of healing if each one of us was really truly learning to listen to the depths of what our soul came here to do and to be. We all came here with like a mission and a true purpose and like a true lineage and a true whatever service. So I think the more and more of us really honor that truth, whether it makes sense to other people or not, that is going to bring so much cohesion and integrity back to the planet and to the collective.
Yeah. It's so true. I so wholeheartedly agree with you with all of those points. It's just imagine. Like sometimes I sit in this imagination space of like what these sorts of things would do. Like because sometimes I feel like the enormity of my calling is so big, right? And it feels so big and engulfing sometimes that I like to sit in this imaginary dream space of envisioning like what would actually happen if everybody was in congruence with their calling, their mission, their, you know, their deep-seated cellular remembrance, like it remembrance. I said that so off the cuff then, but
I got it.
I sit with that so much, and it actually makes my heart explode, because this is truly what we're calling people into again and again. It's not that we have like some hidden secret, like we have spoken about like repressed teachings and stuff. And I will touch base on that a little bit now, because I think you're going to be perfect to ask. But it's not as if we're like in any way, shape, or form going like we are like more special than you. We are chosen.
Totally.
We have some hidden knowledge that you don't know, and so we're like, hey, like I have like crawled through the gates of like, and the ashes and the mud, and like crawled through hell and resurrected this own inner knowing and remembrance within me, and like my true template, and like, and it's an ongoing process. Like we're not fucking perfect. We're completely, absolutely flawed humans
No, I
that
just
drop
dropped
our
my
laptops.
laptop in the
Absolutely. Like, and there's no like there's no shame in that. I don't carry any shame or anything, and don't feel like we're not in integrity, because me and you, and this is what I love about us the most, about us, just specifically us two, is like we are so human, and we are so messy, and we're so flawed, and we're so real. But hey, like, let me hold your hand as we journey this, and put the power back in, not us per se, but like hold your hand and shine a light back on like your own power and your own remembrance and your own gifts and wisdom and calling and womb, and like breathing life into this vessel that has probably been desecrated and ripped apart and distorted for so long. Like that's the way I view it. It's like, I'll be here, let breathe that in, and like let's resurrect this together, because it's not like I have these like secret fucking codes that are just totally hidden. It's like, no, 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 honey. Like the power isn't within you. The power is in your body. It's in your bones. It's in your womb. Like that is it. Like we're not special. Like we're not this, you know, ancient fucking, you know, like, and I know we did speak about like the DNA and all of this sort of stuff, but that in no way makes anyone better or less than anything. Like we're all in this together as like one big ecosystem. Like, you know, and I really wanted to speak on that. And there was another point I wanted to say, but please, do you have anything to reflect on that before we go further?
No, I love that so much. I love that so much. It really is, like you said, I mean, that, you know, it's not about being special or anything like that. There is just with the women, and it's not just women, but anyone who has this kind of soul path, it's choosing into it. It's all there. Like you've just said it, really. It's just the choice to be like, I first of all, I recognize it, and then I choose into it, and then it's all there, you know. It's gnosis. That's why really it's the path of gnosis. You know, it's actually dogmatic conditioning that actually has us kind of believe that we have to, that the wisdom isn't already all living within us, you know, that we have access to the divine and to all this wisdom. It's all there. So no, I love what you just shared. Thank you for touching on that. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I would love to ask you a couple of questions, and this is all around Mary Magdalene, of course. Magdalene, however you want to say it. I don't know if it's my Aussie slang that
I
kind
think
of...
it's your Aussie, but whatever. I love that.
I would love to talk about this, right? Because we both did a workshop in and around this, and like we've spoken about, you know, it is like a deeper knowing. Like the body is, to me, the body is the original scripture, right? Like it is the original scripture, and like the architect that all things are birthed from, like the architecture,
Mm.
right? So that
Mm.
is my sort of inner knowing. And I don't actually know a lot about the lineage of Mary Magdalene, right? So, and it's interesting because we both did that, but our work is so similar and in resonance of each other. And I love, like, you're the perfect person to bring this forth in such a big way, because of your like knowledge and gnosis and inner standing of her and her
Brilliant.
lineage. You know, I spoke to you once, like we did this beautiful, like when I was delving into like my calling, when I was like singing out to my calling, I don't even know how long ago it was, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I was very, very much, because I'm a visual person, shown. And I didn't actually understand it or whatever. It was just this beautiful woman in this amazing veil. And
Mm.
she was walking through this like valley of roses. And all of these roses were wilted and dying and dead. And she was just like walking through and like touching and caressing these roses. And as she was doing
Mm.
it, these roses were like coming to life and going
Mm.
into full bloom. And
Mm.
they were like lighting up, like everything was golden. She was gold. Like it was just the most purest image and visual I've ever seen. And then I seen like, I didn't know if it was Mary or Magdalene or I don't know what it was. That it's funny because I did see like this like spider web sort of energy of like her being connected to all of these other women, like carrying
Mm.
these roses. And it wasn't until I started connecting with like, what is this? What is this? That I started to understand, oh, that is like a deep calling. Like that is like prophecy in a way of like what
Mm.
you're seeing. But I actually have no fucking idea much about Mary Magdalene or her or who she was or the path of her. So I would love for you to explain that to me. And of course, everybody that's listening in and touching base here, because I feel like you have such profound knowledge around this
Mm.
and bring forth like, oh, such yummy, like heartfelt wisdom that it lands. So hit
Mm.
me with it. Bring it here, sister.
Thank you, honey. I love this because I feel like there are a few things as we were talking earlier that I was like, oh, I really want to touch on that. And then our flow went elsewhere, but you've like brought me back. So I just feel like we're really deeply in tune. I wanted to speak to this actually. I can't remember what it was relevant to before, but around I think it was maybe when we were talking about this is you don't need to understand it with your mind. Mind is not a rational thing. It really is a frequency and a felt sense thing. That is all very, very true. And I have been very careful and very intentional about wanting to really bring through the kind of more historical truth of Magdalene as well, because the message that I was really receiving from her, why it was called the many faces of Mary Magdalene or came to me as that. And when I was very much deeply listening for the curriculum, the sort of the shape of the journey and the actual structural pieces. So of course there is some of that in there. Like when I was very much listening for that, when I was on my pilgrimage in south of France, I actually changed the entire journey of how I had just thought that it should be. And it really, like the message I was receiving from her is that she also does want her truth to be known. This is in one way, on a sort of bigger level, it doesn't matter. It is archetypal energy. Like you're saying, like we taught MM22 together and you don't need the sort of historical understanding of her to bring through the beautiful, your womb anointing practice was just so gorgeous. And you don't need, it's all there. And I really wanted this offering to honor both. I really wanted it to honor the somatic kind of path of gnosis and all of that embodied frequency we're talking about, and just the sacred feminine mysteries. But I also really wanted, and this is what I was being very much guided to, was that there is also a hunger for her truth to be more known. And that she, as any woman, she has a right to be remembered for the woman, the incredible and human woman that she was, and what she lived through, and what her actual journey was. And I feel emotional saying it right now because, whew, yeah, that for me is the message I really received. I have to just take a breath.
Yeah.
I feel that what my deepest intention, one of my deepest intentions for this offering is that for that part of her to be known and to be celebrated and to be honored and to be anchored and to be remembered and to be, just really honored for, as I say, her life journey, her experiences, what she had to go through, how she alchemized that, and there is so much wisdom and learning in that for us women who carry this medicine of how to actually work with grief and transmute it. This a big and really important thing, which is another piece I wanted to circle back to, was that we are now at a time, you touched on it, like the persecution and the very real entities or whatever, or forces that don't want this consciousness and these teachings to be remembered and re-anchored. That is all very real, and it is very true that many of us will recognize each other, as you and I did, with similar threads of trauma, sexual trauma, some kind of separation from the feminine, so to do with the womb, maybe that's to do with birth, sex, death, the things we spoke to, right? So many of us have experienced a lot of turmoil, a lot of maybe trauma, and if not in this lifetime, certainly in previous lifetimes, from temple priestesses, from the priestesses losing their temples, to witch burnings and all of these things. We all carry this. So there is a lot of pain in the lineage. And right now, what we are being asked to do is to actually alchemize that and reclaim the truth of resurrection. And you spoke about this, and that's what I loved it. You spoke about it, like resurrection is an organic feminine art, one that is innately, we understand on an embodied level. We do it every month when we bleed, so, but that was hijacked by the Roman Empire and used as a mechanism for creating trauma, which is what we're still continuing to see in the Holy Lands. Oof, I've got like chills all over my body. So we are, when we go into this work, it's not about sort of stewing in the grief and the trauma and the witch wound or whatever. It's really about alchemizing it and actually reclaiming our power, our grace, our faith, our devotion, our truth, our bigness, as Magdalene did. She is an example of a woman, a wife who loved, a mother. That's why we journey with these archetypes, all these very real human things, whilst also being a high priestess and a queen and, a mystic and the apostle to the apostles, all these very like regal and big things. And she held all of that with, all the very human fear and grief and trauma and stuff that we all have to go through. But at the same time, is an embodiment for how to really alchemize all of that human stuff and be in our sort of most integral essence, rooted in like faith and love and devotion. So I think that's what I want to say, is that ultimately I want her real story and the humanness of it to be remembered. And most of us who are part of this lineage, we have a hunger to know more about her in that way, which is what this offering is totally going to help people do, is to really feel and to build a very real connection with her. But at the same time, to learn how to embody her essence so that we can actually have that medicine for ourselves in a world that is very chaotic, and there is a lot of grief and trauma are out there. So she is both of those things, like an archetypal teacher, and it's really about like, can we also get to know her and feel acquainted with her on a very human and mundane level.
Oof. I'm just like sitting here, just like soaking in and satiating every delectable like piece that you have brought out in that space, because I feel like that was just incredible. Like you weave so much together throughout like this whole conversation and this thread about like the humanness and the sacredness, and yeah, really getting a greater understanding, because it isn't just this journey. It's not just this, again, like what we said at the beginning, it's not this like far away, like untouchable, unfathomable thing of being sacred. That it's both. It's like this human essence, this wife, this mother, this lover. Oh, the lover archetype. Yes, yes, yes. It's like all of these things wrapped into one, and I can totally see why you have been chosen to birth this through and bring forward like the many faces of. And I just really am in awe of you. Like I just love
I'm in
what
awe
you
of you.
share, what you bring forth, and I'm like, yes, 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 because there is a hunger to know more, like of the woman. We're coming out of this like rose-colored glasses, like spiritual space, which I always believe that the pendulum swing has to go both ways to come back to like the equilibrium and like this harmonious space in the middle. So it's no wonder that we went to the other end of the spectrum of like, oh, love and light, and oh, like it's still out there and all of this thing. But it's like we're coming out of that now. The rose glasses that come off, and we're finding like our true like harmony within both the primal and the sacred. And I think that is so evident with like who we are as women, like the womb, that rebirth cycle we move through, our own like feminine healing, like alchemization, which we are actually given at birth, that we've just been severed from. And yeah, I'm here for it, baby. I'm here for it. So, my love, I feel like we've actually moved into a space of like organically closing, but I just wanted to ask before we close if you wanted to just like drop into your body and see if there's any other like words of wisdom or like anything else emerging that you want to say before I close off and then give it to you to share about how people can find you.
Thanks, my love.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I didn't answer your question around like actually giving you her historic journey. And I guess what I want to say to that is that is what, this journey, the many faces of Mary Magdalene, is going to be doing, as well as it waking up the somatic kind of frequency side of things as well. So it's really holding both of those. I really, yeah, I very intentionally have anchored the truth of her history into this journey, as well as that more frequency based side of things. And there is one more thing that's been sort of circulating my consciousness, so I'm just going to say it now as you've asked me. There is I keep having messages, feedback, maybe reactions is probably the right word, from some people who can be very identified to like, oh, Magdalene had red hair, or oh no, she didn't look like that. If I post, I've been very trying to be like very accurate as well in, my depictions of her having darker skin. She was Middle Eastern. She was Jewish. She would have had olive skin, dark hair. But what I love, and I said this about us as well in MM22, is that like she was painted by all the Renaissance artists as having red hair. And I feel like you're really holding that frequency of her, and the reason for that. So then people, some people get very attached, like, oh no, she had red hair. to me, that actually it was symbolic for the sacred feminine mysteries that had been so cut out of her nature and of religion at that time. And it was coming through, you know, many of the Renaissance artists are of this lineage. They are Order of the Blue Rose, or, you know, Rosa Mystica Council kind of souls. And there is so much in art that has carried, as well as in the tarot, but has carried the truth of Yeshua and Magdalene's teachings, the truth of this lineage, through in codes through times of persecution when they couldn't be spoken about. So art and the tarot are really important for that. But yeah, the red hair is a symbolic of the sacred feminine mystery. So I just love that, you know, you just have this bright, vibrant, fiery red hair, which is so, you know, when I see you, I'm like, you are so carrying those codes of the wild sexuality, the wild, you know, the wild, fecund, fertile, sexy, you know, raw feminine. So yes, she has that, but I am also very interested in reclaiming the historical truth of her as well, because I just feels like what is being asked of me and of us and of this offering, and at this time, is that her truth wants to be anchored. So the medicine really for all of us is in the truth. That is what we came here to serve as Order of the Blue Rose women. We came here to serve truth. That's my last piece.
What a fucking last piece. We came to serve truth, and your fiery red hair is like erotic. And I'm like, yes, keep telling me all these delicious things about me. Yes, please. And truth, that was such a fire bomb way to like wrap it up. I'm here for it. And it's interesting about the red hair because I feel like when I really was like answered the calling, it was such a weird, you need to dye your hair this color. And it was so, and I can't go back. Like for some reason, it's like so imprint, like it's just, and the amount of compliments I get on it all the time.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like your hair suits you, your hair, like it just brings fire. And I'm like, I'm here for it because I feel like I'm here to serve fire.
Yes.
Erotic fire, baby.
Yes, baby. That's definitely why we saw it, spotted each other and was like, oh, hello, my sister.
I know what I really wanted to say about how you like so delicately wrapped around this delicious royal blue robe for this conversation. And I'm just like fucking here for it. You're just like, yes, I'm this like elegant, delicious embodied blue rose feminine here.
Only an hour ago dropped her full laptop in a bath full of fucking water.
Oh my gosh, yes. All parts and pieces. Well, I can't believe we are here. We did it. We both showed up. We both said yes, even through the chaos, even through the war, the battle to get here, and the eclipse energy. We're both wearing black, full protection mode for this space. And I just wanted to actually, before I hand it over to you, and yeah, get you to speak about this offering, how people can find you. I just actually wanted to sit in my like heart for a moment and say, like, fuck yes, I'm so grateful that we connected and we resonated and we dropped in and we're weaving and we're anchoring different things. And I know so many people that are going to listen to this are going to get so much goodness and just love like your medicine, like your frequency, like your serving of truth and fire. And I will just like forever be one of those people that's like walks beside you and celebrates you like wholeheartedly for the rest of my life, actually. So love you. Thank you. Now, how can people find you and be in your space?
Oh, babe. Let me just receive that. Thank you so much. And I honestly mirror soul sisters for life. It was just one of those connections, and I'm so grateful too. And I love you and adore you, and will also always be your biggest fangirl. So okay, so I feel like the main thing I want to focus on in terms of where can you get more of this is that this Sunday, 16th of March, at 6 p.m. UK time, we have the opening ceremony, which I was guided to turn into a very unconventional and very unique hybrid taster experience. So since this beginning this launch like a month ago, as I was coming out of my France pilgrimage, my Instagram has almost doubled in size. So it's really shown me that, this work is really wanting to get out there, and what an expander Magdalene is when we're in alignment with our mission. And what I realized actually quite recently, like a week ago, was that, these new women coming into my field who really resonate with this work, they don't have any experience of me. And to join such a big journey, it's a deep journey. I totally get that women maybe need a bit more of an embodied experience. So I received this message to open up the opening circle, which is super unconventional, into this taster experience. And one of the reasons why I love it is that it's basically, each of the 13 ceremonies is based on one of the archetypes. Sorry, 12 ceremonies is based on one of the archetypes. And this first one is the sister archetype. So Magdalene was a sister, both in a physical, family sense, but also in terms of she was a priestess. So absolutely, in that priestess lineage, there are both light and shadow aspects. There's definitely a sister shadow wounds that we get to work with. So in this first ceremony, I actually love that I'm opening up to the public. It's as if they get to come up to the gates and really feel into the journey, but also to expand the sister field so that we can really do some potent work with maybe women who aren't able to commit to the deeper journey, but to actually really work with that sister wound and the beautiful, nourishing and absolutely needed sides of what the sister frequency brings in collective rose sisterhood. So this ceremony is Sunday 16th, and I would just love to invite people to come and get a feel for this work and see if they maybe want to join the deeper journey. And it's super low cost. It's like £22. It will be an amazing 3-hour ceremony in its own right, but it also has the opportunity. I'm going to offer a really juicy discount for joining the deeper journey for those who are there live. So there's also, other benefits to joining if someone is really feeling into the deeper journey.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Yes. And I will share obviously all the other links to join the many faces of Mary Magdalene, where you can see Sophie, where you can connect with her and dive in deeper on all these offerings. But this is the most potent offering and the most intimate way to actually be satiated with her delicious essence at this time. So I'm here for it. Thank you so much for joining us. All about alchemy. And this is the greatest alchemization moving through us at the moment. So I'm like so here for it. And yeah, thank you. See you next time. Anything else you want to say, beautiful?
Thank you. Mwah.